At the dawn of the 20th century, as America entered its industrial prime, millionaire Andrew Carnegie rose to prominence, not only as a steel magnate but as a visionary philanthropist. Carnegie's fortune was a testament to the era's industrial might, but his legacy is far more complex. Behind the wealth and influence was a belief in a higher responsibility, a duty not just to himself but to society at large. Carnegie's personal philosophy reflected a profound concept dating back thousands of years, a principle known as Noblesse Oblige. So what is Noblesse Oblige? This French term translates to nobility obliges. In its simplest form, it's the idea that those blessed with wealth, power, or privilege bear a responsibility to use their position for the good of others. Andrew Carnegie took this idea to heart, funding libraries, schools, music venues, museums, and scientific institutions. Through this philanthropy, Carnegie demonstrated that wealth could be a force for good. To understand the roots of Noblesse Oblige and its journey through history, we need to go back to ancient civilizations, where it emerged as a foundational part of society's moral framework. Over the next few hours, we'll explore this concept across cultures and eras, revealing how it has shaped societies and guided some of history's most prominent figures. The birth of Noblesse Oblige in ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, Noblesse Oblige existed in a form we now call euergetism, the practice by which the wealthy were expected to support public life, sometimes through feasts, games, or grand architecture. While philanthropy served the people, it also secured a social order, ensuring loyalty and peace. Homer, the famed Greek poet, alludes to this in the Iliad, where the warrior Sarpedon implores his comrade Glaucus, saying, "The first in valor as the first in place." Sarpedon's words show that being first in place, being privileged, carries an obligation to be first in valor, to fight in the front lines and protect those who depend on them. This idea endured for centuries. Aristotle later expanded on it, stating that public generosity helps create stability and goodwill within society. In his work Politics, he noted how the wealthy would build temples and host feasts, drawing loyalty from the people and reinforcing the social order. Such actions were intended to prevent discontent among the lower classes, ensuring that all citizens felt they had a stake in the prosperity and beauty of their city. Ancient Rome, the patron-client system and public amenities. In Rome, the concept took on an even more structured form. The wealthy Romans built lavish public amenities such as theaters, temples, and bathhouses for their fellow citizens. They also practiced patronage, a system where influential Romans supported clients in return for their loyalty and political support. This informal social contract encouraged wealthy Romans to fund public works, as it not only elevated the city's splendor but also maintained the social harmony they depended on. Inscriptions like DSPF or de sua pecunia fecit, meaning done with his own money, were common on public buildings, serving as a reminder that these monuments were gifts from the wealthy to the people. This exchange of wealth for loyalty was a hallmark of Roman society, binding patrons and the public in a mutually beneficial relationship. Christianity and the spiritual duty of wealth. As Christianity spread, the notion of noblesse oblige transformed into a moral and spiritual duty. The New Testament taught that wealth could be a tool for good, but also warned of the perils of excess. In the book of Luke, Jesus says, "To whom much was given, of him much will be required." This became a guiding principle for wealthy Christians, reminding them to use their resources wisely and compassionately. The Christian message emphasized the moral responsibility of the rich to care for the poor. For early Christian nobles and rulers, charity became a reflection of their faith, demonstrating compassion and humility in a way that bound them to their communities. They saw it not only as a religious duty but as a path to eternal life. In medieval Europe, Christianity's influence deepened noblesse oblige, making it a foundation of feudal society. Here, the concept became part of the feudal system. Lords protected their vassals and, in turn, received their loyalty. Nobles were expected to lead, protect, and care for the people within their domain, emulating the love Christ showed for his followers. Noblesse oblige in the feudal era. In medieval society, noblesse oblige wasn't just a moral guideline, it was a way of life. Nobles provided security and leadership for those under their care, acting as both protectors and providers. It was not uncommon for nobles to establish hospitals, monasteries, and schools, which often functioned as safe havens for their communities. This duty was enforced by the church, which reminded the wealthy that they had a divine duty to protect and uplift their people, just as Christ protected his flock. However, as monarchies and aristocratic structures gave way to more democratic societies, the rigid hierarchies began to dissolve, and so did the formalized obligations of noblesse oblige. Yet, the idea persisted in literature and philosophy. In 1835, French writer Honoré de Balzac summarized good manners for young noblemen, famously stating, "Everything I have just told you can be summarized by an old word, noblesse oblige." Balzac's words capture the cultural shift of noblesse oblige into something akin to moral responsibility or good behavior, adapting the concept for a more modern era. Andrew Carnegie, A New Era of Noblesse Oblige. By the 19th century, as new industries flourished, a new class of wealth emerged. Figures like Andrew Carnegie embodied the ideals of noblesse oblige in this new economic landscape. Carnegie's business empire in steel made him one of the wealthiest individuals of his time. But he wasn't content to simply enjoy his fortune. Inspired by noblesse oblige, Carnegie dedicated his wealth to the noblest possible use, the public good. His investments were guided by his belief that it was the duty of the wealthy to lift up society through education, access to the arts, and scientific progress. He famously built over 3,000 libraries across the U.S., often in small towns and rural areas, providing resources to those who would otherwise have little access to books and knowledge. Carnegie also funded Carnegie Hall, the Carnegie Institution for Science, and countless museums, all of which served to enrich public life. Carnegie's philanthropic philosophy was simple: the man who dies rich dies disgraced. Carnegie's legacy was more than the libraries and institutions he built. It was the enduring belief that wealth comes with responsibility. He once said, "Surplus wealth is a sacred trust which its possessor is bound to administer in his lifetime for the good of the community." This duty wasn't about mere charity. It was about creating lasting, transformative opportunities for all. Carnegie's work stood as a model for future philanthropists, and his contributions reshaped the concept of wealth, inspiring the next generation to consider what they could give back to society. Noblesse oblige in the modern world. Today, Carnegie's belief in noblesse oblige has evolved but remains deeply relevant. Figures like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and other philanthropists have followed in his footsteps, using their wealth to address global challenges from poverty to education. The Gates Foundation, for instance, has made strides in eradicating diseases, and Buffett has pledged a significant portion of his fortune to charitable causes. Yet, our modern world raises new questions about noblesse oblige. In a society where wealth inequality has reached staggering levels, the expectation for billionaires to contribute is growing. But without the shared moral framework that once bound the wealthy to the well-being of society, the pressure today is often external, spurred by public demand rather than an internal moral compass. Some argue that while today's philanthropists do great work, noblesse oblige has become diluted, a more symbolic gesture than a true societal duty. Unlike the nobles and lords of the past, today's elites are rarely held accountable by a higher authority or community expectation. Instead, the decision to give is often personal, leading many to wonder, can noblesse oblige still serve as a guiding principle in an age where social contracts and hierarchies have changed so drastically? The lasting influence of noblesse oblige. Despite these challenges, the concept of noblesse oblige endures. While the framework around it may have changed, the core idea, that privilege entails responsibility, remains powerful. From local community leaders to global philanthropists, the echoes of noblesse oblige remind us that wealth, position, and privilege can be harnessed for the common good. Carnegie's life and the broader history of noblesse oblige leave us with important lessons. Privilege without purpose can lead to discontent and unrest, but privilege with purpose creates lasting change, bridging divides and fostering a sense of unity. Whether we're wealthy or not, we can all embody the spirit of noblesse oblige by using our strengths, talents, and resources to make a difference, no matter how small. Ultimately, the story of noblesse oblige is not just about history's elite or industrial giants like Andrew Carnegie. It's about the human obligation to care for one another. When we understand that true legacy is built not on what we gain but on what we give, we embrace a timeless truth. Noblesse oblige invites each of us to rise to our potential, to recognize that privilege, whatever form it takes, demands purpose. As Carnegie and countless others have shown, society thrives when those with the power to lift others do so. And so, noblesse oblige is not just an ancient principle. It's a call to action, urging us all to create a future where privilege is met with purpose, where the heights of success are matched by the depths of compassion. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join us as we continue exploring the stories and ideals that shaped our world.